following this session if you have any suggestions that would strengthen this whole process. And that's the same with our guests. We would greatly appreciate that feedback too from the universities. So we'll get off and get started. We've got an hour and we got lots of information to share with you. So let me start by introducing the panel. Jessica McCleskey is joining us from Aurora University. And then we have Rachel Robbins joining us from Loyola University. And Mary Ward is back with us with Purdue University. And then Jordan Trude is with us from Southern Illinois University. So good evening, university reps. We are thrilled to have you here. We are going to do a round robin combination of questions to each one of you. Those questions were sent to you ahead of time, but students, use your chat box. Parents, Ms. Chapman will be fielding those questions. If she can answer them, she will be doing that. If they're specific to a rep, as soon as that rep stops talking, they'll look at that information and try to answer it for you. And then if we're getting a lot of the same question, I will actually facilitate getting that answered out to everyone as we progress through the night. So we'll get started. So the first one, why don't we start? I'm just going to randomly start. Mary, since you've done this format with us before, I'll start with you. Okay. Could you please explain the admission requirements for Purdue to include GPA requirements, standardized test scores, placement testing, anything students need to know about the application process?
Absolutely. So thanks for having me tonight. Again, my name is Mary Ward. I'm Assistant Director of Admissions for Purdue University. I'm actually a regional rep, so I live and work here in the Chicagoland area. I'm not on campus. So the way that we review applications, we review them individually and holistically. So Purdue takes a lot of things into consideration. We're looking at grades specifically more than we do GPA. We're looking at those grades and those core academic coursework. We're looking at the strength of your curriculum. Did you take AP? Did you take honors? We look at SAT and ACT scores. Although currently we are test flexible, which is a new term you may not be familiar with. So basically what that means is that if you have test scores or you can take a test, we would like to see those. Letters of recommendation, we look for evidence of leadership, service, other accomplishments, activities, awards, all of those things on the common application is how we make a decision. So we don't have a set ACT or GPA requirement. Obviously, those things are important, but we're looking at everything. Students that are interested in Purdue should really take the most rigorous high school curriculum available to them. So we want students that are academically prepared for the coursework at Purdue.
Thank you, Mary. That's great. Let me switch over now to Jessica. If you could address the same question related to Aurora's admission requirements, anything students need to be successful in the application process?
Yeah, absolutely. For us, we are a test optional institution. So kind of to bounce off of test flexible, we're a little bit different. So students can choose to send us their test scores. We do have some guidelines. So we say guidelines because, very similar to what Mary is saying, we take all kinds of things into consideration. So we have guidelines of about a 2.5 GPA and a 990 SAT or a 19 ACT. But obviously, tests are not always 100% indicative of how well a student's going to perform in the classroom. So we do take that into consideration and kind of look at, the classes that the student is in, the high school they're coming in, very similar to, like Mary said, the rigor of the classes that they're going to be taking, AP courses, dual credit courses. So we do take a lot of that into consideration when we're moving forward with a student. We do not require letters of recommendation or personal statements. We do have sort of a smaller institution. So we do have the opportunity to kind of meet with our students a little bit more one-on-one. So we use a lot of that to really help us with the requirements per se of our students. So that's pretty much where we are with that.
Wonderful, Jessica. And I noticed in the chat box, reps that they're asking about admission fees. So Mary, if you could answer that, and Jessica in the box, we will go ahead and Jordan, if you could include that in your response, we'll let you go next.
Yeah, thank you everybody for having us here to talk. Visited a lot of these schools already and participated in some college fairs. And I am not a regional rep. I actually live in Carbondale, But I'm up here doing my hotel stays and seeing all the high schools, and it's a lot of fun meeting all the students and checking out these schools. Our admission requirements are kind of a two-tier system where if you have a 2.75 unweighted GPA or higher, you will get automatic acceptance. You could be 10%, top 10% of your graduating class and also get automatic acceptance. If you don't meet those requirements, then if you're above a 2.0, but below that 2.75, we will do a holistic review of everything. And if we see a nice progression, as was mentioned earlier, throughout the high school, usually that's a good indicator of success and a likelihood of being accepted. I always kind of, there's no guarantees in any of this, but if you're 2.5 to 2.75, usually if you have a good junior, senior year, you should feel pretty good. If it's below 2.5, I usually recommend writing a personal statement or a letter of recommendation, obtaining one of those if you can, but we don't require those. There's no essays or anything involved. We are running a free application drive right now, and it ends Sunday. So if you apply to the school through the end of this weekend, it is completely covered. You don't need to pay anything, nor do you need to put in a code. It'll automatically do it for you. But yeah, our basic requirements are either you fit the automatic admission right away, or they'll do a little process to look over your whole account.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jordan. There also was a question about scholarships, financial aid, all of those types of things, honors college. We will go into that, students and parents, in just a few minutes. That's actually our second question. So as soon as we finish just the application process and what is required. So Rachel, last but not least, could you please go over Loyola University's admission requirements and anything that the students need to know about the application process?
Yes, of course. So our application is free. You can apply on our website, on the Common App, on the Coalition app. Relatively simple, no matter what method you choose, should only take about 15 minutes to complete. With our application, we also require a letter of recommendation from a teacher or counselor, as well as an official high school transcript. An essay is optional, resume optional, test scores are now optional. But when it comes to the essay and resume, we do highly encourage that. It's your chance to add your own voice to this application. So when it comes to statistics and numbers, the average incoming student at Loyola has a 3.89 weighted GPA, between a 25 to a 31 ACT score, and between an 1130 and 1320 SAT score. So you can be above those numbers, below those numbers, just to give you a general idea of what type of students are coming to Loyola.
Great. Thank you so much, Rachel. All right, then let's get to the next question that students are interested in. Let's talk about sources of financial aid and scholarship funding available to incoming freshmen. There may also be a question related to this if students are planning to transfer. So if you could make that clarification, what's available for incoming freshmen beginning in the fall, and then what would be options if they are transferring 2 years later. That would be very good. We've got a combination of juniors and seniors on the call, but hopefully things stay reasonably consistent next year too. So this is juniors. We're very proud of you for being on tonight. I love to see all that forward planning. It's a wonderful thing. So let's talk about financial aids and scholarship opportunities. Jessica, I'm gonna let you start with that one, with what Aurora has to offer. And I know you can't talk about everything, but if you could hit the high points, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So here at AU, so we take into consideration the test scores and the GPA, or just the GPA if you are looking to be test optional for our merit-based scholarships. So our merit-based scholarships do range up to $15,000, with 15 being our highest scholarship. So we have that range there. For financial aid, we have a lot of our financial aid counselors that help out with that, but here at the institution, actually us admissions counselors take on a lot of that first year financial aid process. Since we work so closely with you through the admissions process, we really do try to continue that into the financial aid season. So us counselors will take on a lot of those questions and help kind of explain award letters to students as we go through that. So Did I answer all of that? Was there, I did cut out for a second there, so I didn't hear the full question. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's just basically the application process. And again, you pretty much covered it, test scores, and you've gone over that, placement testing, GPA requirements, just to give an overview. And I think all of that's covered. Go over again though, and I was actually reading and trying to write notes too. Right now, you are definitely test optional.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and you also resume, anything else that needs to be with that application, resumes, essays?
Nope, we don't require any of that. So if you're test optional, we will just take your transcript. And if you are test traditional, then we'll take that transcript and the test scores. And then you obviously send your application with that as well.
And is your application, will you accept the Common App?
Great question. We do not accept the Common App.
Okay.
Have our own application on our website. It takes about 10 to 20 minutes. It's a pretty quick application since it doesn't include those essays. But yes, we do not use the Common App.
I just wanted to be sure we were clear on that too.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great. And guys, a little bit later, we'll get to key dates because I know to apply for several of the scholarships, there will be a date in time that students need to have their applications in, but we will move that question a little bit later so that we can be sure that we get everybody's calendar out and we're sure all of those dates are in there. So we'll do that in just a few minutes. So thank you, Jessica. Rachel, would you talk a little bit about financial aid and scholarship opportunities at Loyola?
Yeah, so our largest source of aid is our merit scholarships. Every student is automatically reviewed when they apply to Loyola. So those range between $10,000 to $25,000. It's based off of GPA, class rank, test score, stuff like that, academic excellence. Beyond that, we also have specialty scholarships. So you can find a comprehensive list on our website. We have some random ones, like one for Polish speakers, another for women in leadership, stuff like that. Beyond that, we also offer a need-based aid, grants and gift aid from either Loyola or the federal government, federal work study, as well as student loans. So plenty of ways to help with the total cost of attendance.
And Rachel, just in case we have someone on that does not understand what federal work study is, could you just talk about that for a second? Because I know all of the institutions have that, but if you could define that for our students and parents, that'd be great.
Of course. So federal work study awards students the opportunity to earn a capped amount of money each semester by working an on-campus job. So this money is deposited directly into a student's bank account, so they can put it back towards the cost of school, or they can use it as fun money with their friends. So
great. Thank you so much, Rachel. And then Mary, let's switch over to Purdue to talk a little bit about financial aid and scholarship opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. So with us, the financial aid and scholarships, if a student submits their application by our early action deadline, which is November 1st, so it's right around the corner, they're automatically reviewed for merit-based scholarships. However, there's other opportunities for scholarships. Once they submit their application, they have access to their Purdue application portal. In that portal is going to be an academic matching tool called Scholarship Universe. This is going to let students know of any other potential scholarships that they could qualify for and should apply to. Those could be within Purdue or outside of Purdue as well. All of our colleges, we have 11 colleges on our campus, offer scholarship opportunities also. So sometimes that is part of the Common App. You don't need to do anything additional. Other times it'll be part of Scholarship Universe. So you have to fill something additional out. And then obviously if students, parents fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, that will let them know if they qualify for any grants, loans, work study, and that comes from our Division of Financial Aid.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary. Just a reminder to everyone too, if all of our university reps would please put just the access points for this information for financial aid, that would be great. And also you have graciously agreed to give the students and parents your email if they have any follow-up questions to this event. So if you would place those in the chat box too, that would be great, but we'll also be sure they get those. Ms. Chapman will send that out too.
And I forgot, Nancy, you mentioned about transfer scholarships as well. So
yes,
the merit-based scholarships are actually only for incoming freshmen. We don't have a transfer scholarship, but students that transfer in can apply to departmental scholarships once they're at Purdue.
okay, great. Great. Does anybody need to back up and speak to that that's already spoken about the difference with transfer? Everybody good on that?
We
Okay.
do also have
Sure.
transfer merit-based scholarships. Um,
Okay,
Our transfer merit-based scholarships are on a different scale than our freshman ones. So our transfer scholarships do range up to 10,000 rather than the 15,000 of the freshmen. So
okay, great. Thank you so much for clarification on that. Rachel, anything you need, you mentioned that. Mary, anything on if the student is transferring?
Yeah, for me, I mentioned that we don't offer transfer merit-based scholarships, but they can apply for those departmental scholarships.
Okay, so departmental scholarships only. Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you so much. And then if we can go over to Jordan with SIU, if you could talk about financial aid, scholarship opportunities, where students can access this information, that'd be great.
Yeah, I will. So we do offer transfer and incoming freshman scholarships. I work primarily with freshmen. I will link the transfer scholarships into the chat. They're a different level. They're based on your college GPA and then whether you got an associate's degree or not. Then we have two different levels. So everybody's aware of FAFSA. Friendly reminder, make sure you get that in sometime soon. Basically, you want it in as soon as possible, but before the end of the year, worst case scenario is where you start to lose money. So some people have experienced that before. I definitely lost a few dollars when I filled it out too late. So our merit-based scholarships start at a 2.75 unweighted GPA and go up to a 3.8 GPA. I did not mention test scores in the admission requirements because they literally have almost no value with us other than one spot. We will look at a really good test score. We're happy to take them on, but we've had different terminologies for testing. We call ours the no test zone because we don't really look at a lot of them, but there is one place, and I'll speak to that. So with a 2.75 unweighted GPA, you lock in a 6,000 over 4-year scholarship. And with a 3.0 or higher, it is 4 years, 10,000. And with a 3.5, it is 4 years, 14,000. With a 3.8 unweighted, you are guaranteed a minimum of 22,000. And you also get to compete for a full ride. So if you get the full ride, that's 103,000 or so. And if you don't get the full ride, but you compete for the Chancellor Scholarship and come up short, there's also an $8,000 upgrade. So the highest you could get with a 3.8 non-full ride is 30,000, which would basically be 3 years tuition. We also do have, of course, loans, MAP grant, Pell grant, we have work study. So everything you get through FAFSA, that applies as well. And then once you're admitted into the school, we have over 700 on-campus scholarships. And all you have to do is fill out what we call our general scholarship application. Probably take you 15 minutes, and just that one form will actually apply you to all 700 plus. And if you are eligible for something, it will send that to your inbox for further clarification or anything else that you may need to fill out within it. But it's a pretty simple process. And a lot of our students do get these scholarships, and it is, I know sometimes that can sound too good to be true. I have a 3.8 GPA, you're telling me you have 22,000 for free. Yeah, you really do. And so they are, since we're giving away a lot of money to a lot of students, it's very specific. I have a 3.72. Do I get the 3.8 scholarship? Unfortunately not. It is very strict because of the amount of money they're giving out. The one place where a test score could help you really comes into play if you have a 3.5 or higher unweighted, but below a 3.8, a test score of 1310 or 28 could vault you to that highest level where you could compete for the full ride. For anybody listening that's going, oh my God, I have a 3.8, I need to get this in. Our deadline for the Chancellor Scholarship is actually Monday. So if you are in that situation, please send me an email and I can expedite your admission.
Great. And 2 clarifications, Jordan. All the GPA numbers you mentioned, they are unweighted, correct?
Completely unweighted. We don't take any weight into scholarship criteria, and for admission, it's also unweighted.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm just going to roll into you for one more question. Since we're on a roll, I'm going to change the order a little bit. Let's go to critical dates because you mentioned one, and then we will go back to each one of our universities. What are the critical dates that students need to have on their calendar for SIU in order to be sure they take the maximum benefit of scholarship and financial aid funds?
Right. Okay. So specifically for financial aid and scholarship stuff, as I mentioned before with FAFSA, it's really just get it in as soon as you can. Even if your parents maybe have a small business and taxes are an issue, do as much as you can, and then fill it out when able to. With our scholarships that I just spoke to, everything except for the full ride chancellor's competition, the date is actually it's July 1st. So you have a ton of time. Not an issue there really. But basically, we will go off of your transcripts. That is the best one. So people kind of giggle when I say this, but if you do really well post junior year or coming out of your junior year and you have a 3.8 unweighted GPA, send us the transcript, get admitted, and then we will not look at your senior GPA. Obviously, we want you to do well, but you will not ever lose money. So lock it in as soon as you can. And then if you're in the opposite situation, and you improve upon your GPA, send in your new transcript and we will give you the benefit of the doubt for that. But as I said before, November 1st is our deadline for our highest scholarship level. But FYI, we are rolling admissions. So there might be some schools that are gonna ask for your acceptance or your want to actually come to the school, commitment, whatever you wanna call it. We will not really put a date on you. So if you're deciding between us and a school that has a date, there's going to be kind of an artificial one there, but we will take you up until the second week of classes. It just comes down to what's best for you, and we'll kind of work with you on that. But other than special admission programs such as aviation or dental hygiene or anything that takes a minimum or a maximum amount of students, they will give you kind of a clock to work with. But other than that, we have really soft deadlines with things except for like specific scholarships.
One question, you mentioned you have rolling admission. From the time the student does complete the admission application, submits it to you, how long before they know if they're accepted?
Depends on how much you're talking to me sometimes. Like I said, if I'm aware of a situation and you need to get in today, I could probably get you in 15 minutes. But if it's a normal projected timeline, we've been floating around a week. For those that do have the scholarship criteria, our processing has been prioritizing them right now. So even if you applied today, you may actually get accepted tomorrow without even talking to me, just because they're like in move it mode. But generally about a week. And then later this month, I expect it to be 2 weeks to a month, because when everybody applies at the exact same time and you have a small processing team, it gets kind of difficult.
Great. And you mentioned all of the incoming freshman opportunities. Can you just at a very high level talk a little bit about if students transfer 2 years from now, what is the best way to determine what their options are for scholarship and financial aid?
Yeah, so like specifically our transfer scholarships basically start with, do you have a 3.5 or higher, then you will get a $8,000 over 2 year scholarship with 30 transferable credit hours. So that's where it begins. And then if you have an associate's degree along with the 3.5, you will be in kind of the full ride competition, since it's a 2 year full ride instead of a 4 year full ride. But there's a lot of money both ways. I will give you this one disclaimer. If you decide to come in the spring to us, we do not have spring scholarships. So it is only fall. Some kids that graduate early go, should I come? And I go, well, you have $22,000 at stake. Maybe you should just get a job for a bit and then come in the fall. So
good advice.
Taking like one class to get your feet wet, again, double check that you're not losing scholarship money before you go and make any post high school decisions.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Mary, could you please talk about Purdue and critical dates that are approaching for juniors and seniors?
Yeah, so the bigger one, well, for juniors, you want to look for the application August 1st. That's when it goes live. There's only one way to apply, and that's using the common application. For seniors, we are early action November 1st deadline. So the application, the common app to get into Purdue is also your application for a merit-based scholarship. So you want to be able to get that application submitted by November 1st so that you're automatically reviewed for merit-based scholarships. The FAFSA goes live October 1st. We have a priority deadline for FAFSA of April 15th. Our decisions are released on January 15th if you apply by November 1st. That's not binding. You have until May 1st to make a decision. You can apply after November 1st. We give you all the way up until January 15th. But again, if you apply after November 1st, you're not reviewed for merit-based scholarships.
Right. And guys, seniors, if you are on and you are looking at these universities, if you could make that November 1st date, you really need to try. Because again, you've got plenty of time to tell them once they accept you where you want to go. You can have like 7 or 8 acceptance and you choose which one. You just don't want to be in a situation where you don't have that kind of opportunity to be able to pick and choose. So I highly recommend the earlier the better. But let's hear again, let's talk for a minute to Jessica about this question at Aurora. Talk a little bit about critical dates for students there, because I believe you have rolling admission too.
Yes, we are also on rolling admission, so we don't really have that November 1st date to kind of get to. Of course, we do encourage students to do it as soon as possible, so that way you can have that decision. Kind of going off how you asked Jordan earlier, our decision, since we are rolling admissions, we can typically turn those around in 24 to 48 hours. As we receive your application materials, so your transcripts, your test scores. So once we receive those, we will review those, and then we'll give you a call and let you know. Now, other deadlines, again, like we said, like has been said already, FAFSA, October 1st. We don't really have another deadline past that. We don't really have too many deadlines. We do tell students kind of a rough deadline of May 1st, just because that's typically where a lot of students are having other universities give them a deadline. But for us, the only thing really associated with May 1st is if you submit a deposit securing your spot before May 1st, it is refundable up until May 1st. So you have up until May 1st to kind of say, you know what, life turned upside down. I just can't do it anymore, and we'll give you your money back. Now, after May 1st, not really the same situation. We would not be able to give it back. But other than that, not too many. We do also say, hey, submit your FAFSA as soon as possible, especially looking at MAP funding. They do cut that off in the summer. So we typically tell students, let's get this done now. Again, we don't have a rough date or a set date, but we, let's get it done so we don't even have to worry about that MAP cutoff there.
Nice. Thank you, Jessica. That's great. Then let's pick up with Loyola, and Rachel. Give us critical dates that our students need to be aware of in the next few weeks.
So we too work on a rolling admission system, so constantly reading applications. We do have a priority deadline to guarantee merit scholarships on December 1st.
Okay.
So we don't have any early action, no early decision, but the sooner you get your application into us, the sooner that you can get a decision back. So with the timeline, it's usually about 4 to 6 weeks before you would get a decision back.
Okay.
Especially as it creeps closer to that December 1st deadline, we're getting more and more applications to give back to you guys. Beyond that, another kind of deadline is for our nursing program. If you're looking into our nursing program, we suggest getting that application in before December 1st because that pool fills up pretty quickly.
Okay.
Beyond that, with specialty scholarships, there's kind of another deadline there too. That comes later in the process, but those applications are usually due late spring. So that comes later. You'll get more notifications. No need to worry too much about it right now.
Right. Rachel, thank you so much. Let's jump over for a minute and we'll go back and remind students of dates, but let's go and talk a little bit about programs of study. And as before all the students and parents got on, I mentioned to our university guests that it's not like you have to know every program of study and list them all. What we're trying to be sure parents and students know is how to access that information. on each of your websites. If they have questions, what does that look like? If you have any, what I call showcase programs that your university is known for, again, any highlights you could provide like that, it would be great. So why don't we start that question with, let's go with Jordan on programs of study. How do they access that information? What does that look like?
Yeah, it can be a little bit difficult when I get that question sometimes because we have so many. We have actually over 200 programs in total, technically, through majors, minors, and specializations. The thing I always start with, like, what are you known for at SIU? If we're known for literally one thing, it would probably be aviation.
Okay.
Then, of course, we speak to our business and engineering as, you know, really quality programs. We've been ranked as the highest ROI by a certain website that was speaking about our teachers education program. So we fit a lot of different areas for students. But we also do have some things that are very specific, such as mortuary science. If you're looking for a 4-year mortuary science program, a lot of our students that visit, I go, well, what made you consider SIU? And they said, well, you guys were it, you know, so sometimes that happens. But we also have, you know, dental hygiene, radiology, nursing, like 4-year programs, physician assistant. So we have a lot of health sciences. We have the, you know, the STEM fields. Aviation, something that we kind of excel at. We have automotive technology as a 4-year program as well, which is really popular. So we're super, you know, rounded in terms of our educational possibilities. And I guess just overall, what we combine with years of fun and experience on campus with a lot of technical and hands-on, you know, work within the specific majors, that's something we feel like we kind of excel in. But we have such a broad potential study. We do study abroad, if that's something maybe to speak to, over 44 countries. So we get that once in a while, but yeah, a lot would be the short answer. But if you're curious about more, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm going to put a link to a list of all our majors as well.
Great. And I highly recommend students and parents that you access that link, because again, he is giving you just the high points right now, but there's a lot more information available on the website. And then Mary, I'm going to switch over to you with Purdue. What is the best way for students to get information about the array of programs of study?
Yeah, just like Jordan, we have a lot to offer. So we have over 200 majors on our campus in 11 colleges. We actually have 2 professional schools. We have College of Pharmacy and College of Veterinary Medicine. So if a student wants to become a pharmacist or a vet, they can do that at Purdue. We are direct admit for all of our majors. So students apply specifically to their college and major. As I mentioned already, they do apply through the common application. So they can list 2 majors on the application. So if they're not, if there's 2 things they're interested in, list those as 1 and 2. We don't review students for their second choice major unless they're not admissible to their first choice major. Most popular majors is going to be engineering. We are ranked the 9th best engineering program in the country. We have 17 majors in the College of Engineering. That's probably kind of the only exception to the rule, because students interested in engineering apply as and start as a first-year engineer student, still directly admitted to the College of Engineering, but we spend that first year, they're taking engineering classes, doing engineering projects, but we also explain the differences in all those engineering majors before they select one. So they'll select their engineering major at the end of their first year. Computer science is very popular, and that is in our College of Science, not in the College of Engineering. We also have a direct admit nursing program. Business program is very popular. Craner School of Management, we're ranked top 25 business school in the country. We also have a professional flight program. So Polytechnical Institute, we are the first college to own and operate our own airport. We have our own fleet of planes. And as you've listened on the news, there is a shortage of pilots. So that's a very popular major currently right now too. But students can search majors by their interests. So if students interested in the healthcare field or interested in programming, just go, I'll put the link in the chat, but they can go click on the major, a wealth of information. We have a plan of study for all of our majors. You can see exactly all the classes you're going to take. What we list, like what kind of job can I get with this major? We also have some unique majors as well. Turf science. So if you like grass in golf courses or parks, you can do turf science. We have unmanned aerial systems, which is working with drones. So some really unique, fun majors as well.
Great. And Mary, just for parents' clarification, students, if they don't understand that term, can you talk about the difference in a direct admit? Let's just use nursing, for example. Direct admit into nursing from the time you leave high school versus if you are not direct admit.
Great question. So direct admit means that you are applying with us, you're applying to your major and you're starting in those classes freshman year. There are institutions, especially for nursing, where you apply to the school. Once you're admitted to the school, once you're there, you have to apply again to the nursing program. So direct admit is a great advantage because you are one-time apply, you start in those classes freshman year, you don't have to reapply.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of that. All right, then lots of good information. Y'all are doing a fantastic job talking about programs. There's even programs I didn't know you had. So this is wonderful. Why don't we hop over to Rachel at Loyola and talk a little bit about programs of study and where students access more information.
Yeah, so we have more than 80 different majors to explore at Loyola. Again, all of our programs are direct entry. So if you're admitted into Loyola, you're admitted into the program of your choosing, so you can get started right away. With nursing, our nursing program, you actually have to enter into it directly into your freshman year of college. You can't transfer in. So if you're thinking about nursing, that's something good to keep in mind. Beyond that, a couple different highlights about Loyola. Our business program is very popular. We have the #1 undergraduate business program in Chicago. It's also mainly housed downtown at our Water Tower campus. So really popular just for getting internships and experience down there. Beyond that, our health sciences, public health has become a really popular field to explore recently. And also, again, nursing is popular. Sustainability, we actually have the only school of environmental sustainability in Chicago, and we're the only Jesuit university to have one. So that also has a lot of appeal to it.
Perfect. And Jessica, you actually have, Rachel, you have 2 questions in the box too related to admissions that are specific to Loyola. If you can look at those, that'd be great and respond back. And what I'll do is while you're responding back to that, I will switch over to Jessica to talk about programs of study and any highlights or information about accessing that information on Aurora's website.
Yeah, absolutely. I can put a link to all of our majors and all of our kind of highlights there in the chat as well. But so we have nursing is definitely one of our top majors. We also have direct admit into nursing. So the way that our direct admit works is that when a student applies under nursing in their freshman year, as long as they have a 3.0 GPA, then they will be directly admitted into the School of Nursing. So they will not have to apply again going in. They will not have to take the TEAS exam. They're already in. Now, those students do have to maintain a 2.75 GPA while they're at AU in their freshman and sophomore years. And they also have to maintain higher than a C in all of their pre-nursing requisite classes. And those are outlined in our course catalog, which you can also see on that nursing page that I'll put with all the majors in there that I'll put in the chat. So that's one of our top. Another one is our business program. Our business program, to kind of go along with that, we also have +1 programs in our master's. So that goes really hand in hand with our School of Business kind of at the undergraduate level, because so many of our students go on from the School of Business in undergrad onto the MBA +1. So you can get that master's in 1 year. Now with the undergraduate business program, we do require students to have internships in that program. We have a lot of resources to help students get those internships as well. So that's a really big highlight of that program that really helps students kind of pick and choose and see, okay, this is awesome, love that, let's keep working towards that. Or, hey, this internship wasn't quite my cup of tea, let's try something else. So we always consider that a plus no matter what, because then you're kind of on that journey of finding what really works for you. Some other really top majors for us are going to be education. So we have a few different sectors of education. We have elementary ed, we have secondary ed. We also have special education and bilingual ESL. So we have a bunch of different programs in that as well. Criminal justice is going to be another really top program for us. We have a lot of students that do internships around here. And we have started to kind of bring different people from like Homeland Security and the FBI to come in and students here right on campus. So definitely another growing major there. Social work is another huge one for us. Again, all these top majors kind of really hit on internships, and social work is another one that hits on those internships as well as that +1 program with the masters. Most of our students that go through that undergraduate social work level go on to that +1, and they'll work directly with those professors. So again, a lot of internships. We are also pretty big in our health sciences, and we're starting to build some pipelines. Since we are a smaller university, that is a little bit newer for us. So we're building pipelines with different bigger schools in our School of Health Science for like pre-PA, pre-med, pre-physical therapy, because we don't have our own actual schools of that.
Great. Now, and you brought up something else, that you're direct admit into nursing at a certain GPA. Are you seeing students on a wait list, or are you having a good bit of, are you able to meet the demand in nursing, or are you seeing a lot of students on the wait list?
We have been meeting it pretty well. We haven't really had too many on the wait list, which has been, really great, because we were kind of unsure when we kind of launched that in the last year with that 3.0 GPA, but it's been going pretty well. So
excellent.
Not too much on that. So.
Right. I just know we have a lot of students interested in that field
Yeah.
based on the panels we've run for health science careers. So that's why I was curious to see how that was looking. Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much. There are also lots of questions about campus visits and tours, but I believe each one of the admission reps are putting that information into chat. Students, we highly recommend, I think everybody will, and that'll be our next question on advice, highly recommend you visit these institutions if you're interested in pursuing admission there. And that's probably leads us nicely into the next question. This is sort of a fun question. What advice could you provide students as they go through this process, this whole college university search process, and then the whole decision-making process? What's your advice to them, regardless of what institution they go to? And I'll actually start that one with Rachel.
So for the college search process, I definitely recommend, if you're looking for a specific program, then just check out different schools that have that program. Especially, when you're applying, you don't want to go to a school that doesn't have the thing that you're looking for. So if you're very set on something, definitely pay attention to that. But beyond that, I know that this process is probably a little bit intimidating and scary and hard, and there's thousands of schools across the country and around the world. But at the end of the day, it's really what you make of it, and it'll all be okay. So just rest assured.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Why don't we switch that over? Aunt Jessica, your thoughts on what's the best advice in this whole university search and admission process?
Yeah, I love this question. This is something that I just chat with my students about every time I visit with them, whether it be on the phone or in person via Zoom. It's my favorite question to ask. I typically will start by asking students just how the process is going, because all of us, on this panel here, we see you guys all the time and we see what everyone is going through. So my favorite question. But some of the biggest advice that I tell students is, one, I'll give you 3 things. One, enjoy the ride. I went to college, I did my master's, and now I'm in the working world, and it went by super fast. So enjoy the ride, enjoy the time with going through this process with your parents, and learning all of these things. 2, definitely get yourself on campus. That's the best way for you to put yourselves in the shoes of a student at that university. So I had a student today that she was like, I'm so glad I visited, because now, I could really see myself here on campus because of that. So highly recommend that. That's how I made my decision. I attended AU and I came on campus, and that'll help you feel the culture. I tell students every day, you want to go to a school where you feel like I do about AU. I wouldn't sit here in the role that I am if I didn't fully believe in the mission of AU and what we do for students. So go to a school that you can, stand on the rooftop and tell everybody that. And 3, just, make pro and con list, after every visit, and say, hey, this this is super important in my decision. You know, if this school has this, this, and this, that's the school for me. So always make those pros and cons lists. It'll make your decision a lot easier, because if you look at that list and you're like, you know what, this school has everything I need, it's a little bit easier at that point, right? So that's my 3. Sorry.
Wonderful. No, that's
So-
fantastic advice. That's great. I'm going to switch that question over. Jordan. Jordan, what do you consider the most important things in making that decision?
Yeah, like Jessica, if I visit a high school student, maybe it's because I'm kind of young and still new to a lot of this, but if we have 45 minutes, I'm going to talk about SIU for probably 15 of it. And the rest of it, I'm going to talk about how's life going, how's the process going, what is college like? Because so often we're asked, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Not why do you want to go and how do you want to do it, which is just as important and probably harder to figure out than, oh, I want to do this. So it's twofold. Honestly, it sounds weird, but this is like one of the most important decisions you're ever going to make, obviously, because you can spend more money on something, but you can always replace those things. So buying a car, buying a house, like those things, eventually you might move, you might get a different car. You will never be able to change the 4 or 5 years that you spend in college. And all those memories that you make are things you're going to hang on to for the rest of your life. So while that sounds big and intimidating, it's simple to me. Find a place that you love. This isn't just a transaction. This is your experiences tenfold. So I often tell students, it's your experience. It is your decision. Obviously, if somebody's helping you with money and stuff, it can get interesting. But make sure that this is your decision and not your friend's decision. It's not relationship based. Don't let any outside interference play in your future, because this is your future. So keeping it very simple. And I often say, so I know around 70% of students change their major in college, and that might be like a shocking number. But if you go to a school because they have a great program and that was it, what happens if you change your passion?
Right.
What's next? So making sure that you fall in love with where I'm at, where I'm living, the school itself and the program, and just the overall culture of, the experience of that university. If you can find those 3 things, then that's great. And as was mentioned, visiting is basically the way you can do that. Visiting is great for both reasons of, if you get out of that car and you're like, oh my God, why did we come here in the first place? Then that's awesome. Like, finding out you didn't like a school is just as valuable as finding out you love it, because then you don't have to spend the next 6 to 12 months wasting time with a school that you don't really fit in at. And so ultimately, in short, it comes down to, there's no bad schools. They're all accredited for a reason, but there's different schools, and finding the fit for you. Not every person in your high school that isn't your friend is a bad person. You're just not friends with them because you have your group. Find your school, not the school that's the best at this or that or whatever you heard. Experience it, find it out, and if it works for you, that's great.
Great, Jordan. Wonderful answer. Thank you. Mary, I'm going to let you wrap up this question. What's your advice?
So I've been through this process with my own kids. So I see it from the parent side and the kid side. And this is something, don't stress, and easier said than done. I understand, especially now with everything that's going on. But as everyone has said, with great advice, there is a school for everybody. So doing your homework, visiting schools. I know with my own kids, as it was mentioned, they stepped foot on a campus. They either knew they liked it or they knew right away they didn't like it. Talk to students as you're walking around, ask them what they like and don't like about the school. So really, see if you can see yourself there. The main thing is finding out, a good fit, which Jordan said, academically, socially, and financially. Financial is another part of that. So don't dismiss a school because of the sticker price, because as you heard, we all offer scholarships. So look at a variety of schools. If you can't visit in person, then do it virtually. Many schools offer virtual opportunities. As was mentioned by Jessica, make a list. I'm a big list maker. I do an Excel sheet. pros and cons, or this school has this has this, because after you start visiting schools, they kind of all blend together. So having that list to look at later on is very helpful. And realize that we're all here to help you. No one on this panel gets commission because you come to our school. So we really want you to find the best school for you. It breaks my heart if a student will come to Purdue and they're not happy. I want students to come to Purdue that are going to like Purdue and they're going to talk about Purdue. And so that's what we all want. We want the best school for you. So if we're calling you and you don't want to come to our school, just tell us. You're not going to hurt our feelings. So that way we can mark you off our list. We don't have to call you anymore. So use us as a resource. We're here to help you through this process. We know it can be overwhelming. There's all these terminologies maybe you're not familiar with. So let us help you through this process and don't stress about it.
Wonderful, Mary. Thank you so much. Before we go into specific questions that the students and parents have submitted to us, I want to back up just one more time on key dates. And Mary, while I've got you, I'm going to let you go over that again. My understanding is the most important date right now is November 1st if you're a senior.
Absolutely. You want to get that in by November 1st. Don't wait till October 31st, which is just right around the corner. Try to get it in. I get emails from panicking parents and students that the internet went down. They lost their essay, whatever it is. So give yourself a little leeway there and get it in before November 1st.
Perfect. And Jordan, I believe you said November 1st too, if you are applying for the top level of scholarships.
3.8 unweighted GPA or higher. If you're panicking, you haven't applied, apply, send me an email. We'll figure it out. That's what we're here for.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then Rachel, I believe yours was December 1st. Is that right for Loyola?
Yes, December 1st deadline to guarantee merit scholarships.
Okay. And then with rolling admission, Jessica, at Aurora, there is not a November 1st or a December 1st cutoff.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's just real important to all of the seniors. Juniors, you got a whole year before you got to worry about that. But seniors, be sure you have that information because you just got a few days on that. All right, a couple of questions, and Ms. Chapman, you may have covered this with everybody. The AP course acceptance, that may vary. One thing I think is real important there, that varies depending on whether it's a public school in Illinois, a school outside of Illinois, a private school. Does anybody want to take that question about AP credit and the best way to find out how the AP credit will count at your institution?
I can speak to it really quickly.
Okay.
So it's not an extensive answer. I will link you to a page that we have a list of every AP test score that would be needed for that credit. So I'll just link that to you guys. And if you want to check it out, we usually take, if you meet a certain criteria on your test scores, that you'd be able to get that credit with us.
Perfect. Okay, great. Anybody else want to respond to AP credit?
So for us, we do accept 3 or higher in just about every AP exam, but I can also link the link for students and parents to look at that for our website too.
Great. That's wonderful. Rachel, how about for you?
Yeah, it varies. Usually it's like if you get a 5 on the test, we'll take it. I too have a link to check classes, so I'll put that in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Mary, anything on AP credit? I know I just saw the link go in the box. Anything else I need to know?
Yeah, usually 3s will come in as elective, 4s and 5s can come in as a specific class, but they can check the link to confirm that.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Also, and I hate to even bring up this question, but I get it every time. And I want to just pull that student aside and be able to talk to them separately. Athletic scholarships. Any advice? Seniors, it's getting really tight on athletic scholarships. Juniors, any advice on exploring the whole athletic scholarship piece? Why don't we start that with Mary with Purdue?
It really depends on the institution. So realize for Purdue, we are Big Ten. We're NCAA Division I. We compete at the highest level. Coaches do their own recruiting. They have their own budgets. I don't have any pull to get you on the team. I will say that you have to apply like every other student. So I will say coaches want good students, because if they recruit a student to be a student athlete and don't have the grades, you're not going to play. So, reaching out to the coaches directly is the only way you can really do that. by the time you're a senior, those connections should probably already have taken place early on. But then, like I said, it could vary depending on the school.
Great, thank you so much. Anybody else want to make any comments about athletic scholarships and the process that students need to follow?
Yes.
Jordan, you want to,
So,
oh, I'm sorry.
oh,
Jessica,
sorry.
you go first, and then we'll switch to Jordan.
sorry. So AU is actually a Division III institution. So for us, we do not give athletic scholarships at all. But kind of a cool thing that we do here, and I'm not sure if everyone else's institutions do something similar. I'm actually specifically working with athletics. So I'm an admissions counselor specifically for athletics. So I'm an athletic recruiting liaison, and I work in admissions just like everybody else, but my territory is half of our sports. And then we have another one of us who works with the other half of sports. So again, just kind of like Mary was saying, a lot of the recruiting does go on through coach. But I will help with kind of be their contact. Coach and I work together super closely to help students through the process. So that's a little bit more on athletics on our side. Because we're D3, it is very different than D1 institutions.
Great, thank you so much. Jessica, how about you, Jordan, at SIU?
Yeah, so we're Division I as well. A lot of what Mary was saying really applies to us. We share the conference with Loyola, so it's probably pretty similar with them too. But yeah, the harsh truth is that if you're not already being recruited by your senior year at a D1 level, then you may be, it's not the worst thing in the world to be a D2 or a D3 athlete, I promise. I would have loved to be one. But yeah, basically, if you can get into contact with coaches, assistant coaches, primarily, if you email a head coach, good luck. But talk to your coaches specifically.
Right.
Like, it's much easier to go, hey, coach, do you know someone I can talk to get discovered through whatever? We do have walk-on tryouts for basically every sport. And if it's more about the love of the game, then the scholarship to you right away. A lot of our walk-ons do eventually get a scholarship, maybe junior, senior year. And since we're D1, but FCS and football, we play at a level where if there's a kid on this video right now that's like, I can do it, just give me a chance. We're a good level for that because we don't have the Alabama athletes. We don't have the 6'4", the 340, but we have the 6 foot or 5'10" receiver that puts in the work and eventually works his way up. So yeah, scholarships are very available and prevalent, but talk with your coaches, talk with the assistant coaches, see what's realistic. And sometimes you just need to fill out like an athletic form for the team, and then they can look further into you. So keep sending those emails with videos and good luck, I guess is the best way to put it.
No, that's a great point you mentioned, and I do recommend that to students, especially if you're in your junior year right now, that you work through your coaches in the high schools, because many of them are visiting with these university coaches on a regular basis, and they all are assigned different reps and territories, just like you're seeing tonight with our university reps. So again, I highly recommend you work with your coaches on that. Rachel, anything else you wanted to add on athletic scholarship process?
Very much the same. We're Division I, so it's kind of out of our hands in the admissions office, the undergraduate admissions office. But again, ditto about what the other counselor said, works in very much the same way.
Wonderful. Also got a question about seal of biliteracy. Do you accept that? Anyone want to address that question?
I do know that.
Okay.
Oh,
You're
sorry,
muted.
I've
Yeah, no,
muted
that's
myself
okay. I
again.
just heard you click out. That's why I was.
Yeah, so I do know that we've accepted that. I would have to double check everything changes so fast nowadays that I have to kind of always double check on something that's specific. I have kind of the luck is I was a student worker in the registrar's office before I was doing admissions. We kind of worked with that stuff. But I would say to anything of that, importance and specificity, send us an email and we can double check and follow up and respond to you, because I always tell people, you guys have lives, especially as high schoolers. You're probably more busy than we are. So you need to focus on your stuff and then give us a quick question and we can go find out and do our jobs.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anybody else want to comment on the seal of biliteracy? All right, so everyone follow Jordan's instructions. They were very good. That will work out great. All right, any other questions, guys? We got a few minutes before we wrap up. Ms. Chapman, is there anything we're forgetting?
I think everyone did a really good job. There is a question about world language or foreign language requirements. Do the four of you have a world language requirement?
Okay, so SIU does not. How about Purdue?
We do have, students have to have 2 years of foreign language in order to be admissible to Purdue. But with us, it doesn't have to be the same language. It could be 2 level 1 different languages. We also take sign language.
Great. Rachel, how about with you?
We
And
do
again, that's
also.
Loyola. I'm sorry, I'm trying to tell parents each time which institution because it's easy to get people confused.
Very easy. Yeah. We do have one. I am not exactly sure on the specifics, and it might differ based on school, but feel free if you are wondering about that to email me. I put it in the chat. So email me with any questions you have.
Wonderful. Jessica, any information on foreign language requirement?
So we only require whatever the high school needs for you to graduate. So
Okay,
I know
Right.
each high school is sometimes different. Whatever your high school requires, that's what as long as you graduate from your high school, then we'll take it.
great. Well, I have some really good news tonight. This is one of the largest student parent attended panels we've had. And I have to say, guys, we've now done 6 of these. And I think this is one of the best panels we've ever had. Angie, don't you agree? Y'all have just done a fantastic job. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Why didn't I know you 5 years ago when my kids were getting ready for college?
Exactly.
So thank you so much. The information you gave was invaluable. Your ability to present it, you did a great job. Thank you so much.
It's amazing we got that much information out in an hour.
Wow.
It's really good. So parents, students, we would love to hear your feedback on this process, on whether you think it's valuable or not. Having lived in the pre-pandemic days when I would stand in line behind, the Marquette line, that was like 100 people in front of me kind of thing at the wherever I was, a gymnasium or some type of sports center. It's very nice to be able just to sit in your living room, not be wet, not be standing in line, and get this information quickly. So again, admission, all of our university partners, we greatly appreciate you letting us use this format so we can reach as many parents and students as we can.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Chapman, you want to close us out?
Sure. I reiterate what everyone said. Thank you so much to all of our college admissions counselors. We really appreciate your time, and students and parents, you ask great questions. If you have any specific questions, again, we'll send you their email addresses. Also, your school counselor is a great resource, so make sure you use them too. All right. So have a nice evening. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you guys so much.